If there is a beast that was capable of striking terror in the very hearts of the Nordic peoples, even of the gods themselves, that was Fenrir, the dire wolf. Not only because of its ferocity or its colossal size, but because it was prophesied that it would be this, when the time came to free itself from its chains, that would mark the beginning of the feared Ragnarok, the great final battle of the gods, the one that would drag with it everything that exists, thus causing the fall of the gods and the end of the 9 kingdoms, among them Midgard, the kingdom of men. Fenrir was the son of Loki and the giantess Angerboda, as well as the brother of the serpent Jormungandr and Hela. Legend tells us that Fenrir was raised by his mother in the land of the giants, along with his brothers. However, an ancient prophecy assured that the sons of Loki would end up becoming mortal enemies of the Aesir, that is, the main Norse gods, that they would bring great calamities with them, and that they would finally end up facing them in the great battle, thus unleashing Ragnarok, the great apocalypse of the northern lands and putting an end to everything that existed. For this reason, Odin, supreme leader of the Aesir, decided to separate them, both from his mother and from among the brothers themselves, believing that in this way he could prevent the dark prediction from coming true. He threw Jormungandr into the depths of the seas, sending Hela to reign in the underground kingdom of Helheim, where she would be in charge of receiving those who died due to old age or illness. Let us remember that in the Nordic world there was no greater honor than dying in battle, being an honorable and proud way of dying. Therefore, dying of illness or old age was practically a dishonorable end. As for Fenrir, Odin himself decided to raise him as a pet, taking him with him to Asgard himself. By doing this, in order to bend the hand of destiny, the father of the gods was unknowingly helping the prophecy to come true. Since it would be this act that would cause a series of events that would cause Fenrir to end up feeling uncontrollable hatred and fury towards the Aesir. The thing is, at first everything was going well. Fenrir was a cute and adorable pet. Every day he brought Odin's slippers, played with his ball, chewed on the Gungnir spear, and peed all over Asgard. However, with the passage of time, the wolf's character began to become fierce and indomitable. Although the real problem came when they realized that Fenrir was growing at a very fast pace and to a colossal size. It was because of this that the gods decided that it would be best to keep him tied up and thus have him under control. That's how they tried to do it. First, they tied it with the leading chain, incredibly strong, but it was no effort for the animal to break it. Then, they tried it with an even stronger one, Droma. However, on both occasions, Fenrir broke the chains with astonishing ease. Then Odin commissioned the dwarves, famous for their skill in forging, to build a chain so strong that it would be able to stop the monstrous wolf. This is how they created Gleipnir, the one that was soft and silky like a bow, but incredibly resistant. The chain was created with a cat's footprint, a woman's beard, the saliva of a bird, the nerves of a bear, the breath of a fish, and the roots of a mountain. The chain would be called Gleipnir. With this new chain, they devised a plan to trick Fenrir into allowing himself to be tied, since his ferocity had grown so much that they did not dare try to capture him by force. With the excuse of testing the resistance of the chain, they asked him to allow himself to be tied, just to see if it was so easy for him to break it, and that if he couldn't do it, then they would free him, since that meant that he was no longer a threat. But he said he wasn't stupid at all. He set a condition, that he would allow it only if one of the Aesir placed his hand inside his mouth as a guarantee and sign of good faith. But none of them dared to do it. Putting your hand inside the terrible jaws of the wolf was like signing the death warrant. Only Tyr, son of Odin, had the courage to do it. He placed his hand inside the beast's snout, and the challenge began. Fenrir tried to free himself, but he couldn't. Angry, he struggled and shouted, trying to break the chain. However, the more he fought, the more he became entangled in Gleipnir. Realizing that he had fallen into a trap, the enraged Colossus snapped his jaws shut, tearing off Tyr's hand. Fenrir, mad with fury, he snapped as his growls and howls made the ground shake, and drool and foam flew from his snout. The gods then placed a sword inside his mouth so that he could not close it again. Thus they left the beast tied on the island of Lyngvi, angry with the gods for his betrayal. His two sons, Skoll and Hati, tried to free their father, but Gleipnir was unbreakable, so their efforts were useless, and they were captured by Odin. Of Skoll and Hati, it is said that they would pursue tirelessly, Skoll the sun and Hati the moon, and that when they catch the stars in their jaws, it will be the sign that the time of Ragnarok has arrived. Meanwhile, Jormungandr continued to increase in size, so much so until he surrounded Midgard itself with his huge body. Hela increased the power of herself and her army of the dead, preparing for the final battle, the mother of all battles that would cause the fall of the 9 kingdoms. And Fenrir, the dire wolf, continued to grow, both in size and fury, and in his deadly hatred of the Aesir. Waiting for the moment to free himself from his chains, and thus begin the final contest. When the time of swords and axes comes, the time of the wolf, the time of the twilight of the gods, and with his upper jaw he captured the sky between his teeth, and with his lower jaw the earth to fulfill his destiny of facing Odin himself in a titanic combat. When the time for Ragnarok comes. And now,